Welcome back to Finnegan's Garage. Banger of an episode because we're giving you more of what you want. We are working on the Cadillac. We are ripping the motor out of it and sending it to Nelson to finally get assembled. We are also going to show you an update on the Lexus. You would not believe how crappy some of the roll cage was in that car. But more importantly, I have the winner of the Datsun, also of the Wire Care wiring kits and the FSM autographed merch. Stay tuned to the end of the video to find out. Did you win? I don't know, but we will in a second. Let's go. If you're just joining us, let me tell you about this project car. It has been holed up in the middle bay of my garage way too long. I don't know how long. It's probably been at least a year, maybe more. And that's because between miscellaneous projects and life, we have been fabricating our own turbo kit to fit a 540 cubic inch big block Chevy and twin Nelson Racing Engines mirror image turbos into a 1961 Cadillac Coupe DeVille. You might recognize this car from an episode of Roadkill where Freiberg and I bought it out of an airplane hangar in California and then drove it to the top of a mountain. That seems to be a theme with my life. Snow chains on it, went to Tahoe, Reno, had a great time in this car. Brought it back to Georgia, and then it went to MRC Fab. RIP, they're out of business, but they built the Mandrabent chassis in here. It's on coilovers. And the goal for this is 8-second passes at a drag strip with air conditioning, cruising with my friends and family in this thing. That's why I went with a Cadillac. And so for the last year or more, it might even be 2 at this point, I don't know. The car's been in the garage while we pick away at the giant list of fabrication projects on this thing. And in this episode, we're gonna install EGT probes into our finished headers, and then the motor's coming out and we're crating it up and sending it back to Nelson because there's nothing in that motor but a crankshaft. There's no valves, no pistons, no connecting rods, nothing in there. It's a mock-up motor. And so it goes back and on our actual motor gets some of these parts like this Shaun's custom alloy intake and the Motion Raceworks throttle body and the Billet Specialties front drive system. That all goes on my actual motor. So let's put some EGT probes in and then we'll go look at the Lexus, which is a disaster. It's not gonna be, but right now, you're not gonna believe what you're gonna see. Okay, here's what we're installing today. Holley 554 190 8-channel exhaust gas temperature probes and controller. There's the harness, there's the box. Here are the probes. Each one of these probes needs a Welding bung installed into a primary tube at the header. Got to drill a hole into it, then got to TIG weld it on there because all our stuff is stainless. Now, passenger side header is already done. Here's each bung. They get welded in there, and then they have a nut with a compression sleeve that goes over the end of the sensor. And a couple of things to think about when you're doing this. If you're going to do this at home, you want to make sure that the sensors are all installed approximately the same distance from, let's say, the exhaust valve. From here to here should be approximately the same distance as from here to here on every one of these. The other thing you want to do is when you install the sensor, you want to make sure the sensor sticks into the tube the same depth for every one of these. When you do that, then you can compare cylinder to cylinder exhaust gas temperatures, and your readings will be much more accurate. This one's already done. This one, Joe has already drilled the holes in, so now all I got to do is TIG weld the stainless bung into the primary tube. Just goes like that. And at the end of the day, when you're all done, you can wire this into a Holley Dominator or another EFI ECU when you want to data log your exhaust gas temperature, which is an excellent way to tune your engine. And it's a great way to find balance cylinder to cylinder. And if you can understand the relationship between ignition timing, air-fuel ratio, and exhaust gas temperature, then you can do a great job of finding power and prevent melting your motor down. Okay, so here's the setup. I am going to weld that stainless steel EGT bung into this stainless steel primary tube. The tube is 067, I think. fairly lightweight stuff. We're going to be using 035 diameter filler wire, very thin stuff. I try not to put a ton of heat into this, because if you do, and if you penetrate too much, sometimes what happens is the wall in there will collapse, and then when you go to put the probe in there, it doesn't want to go in, or it gets stuck, or you can't ever get it out, whatever the case may be. So I try not to put a ton of heat into this steel when I'm installing it. We're using the Miller Dynasty 400 here. Obviously you're on DC current. I'm going to have it at about 75 amps there. I'll control it with a foot pedal. And it won't be pulsing or anything like that. This should work pretty well. Have a gas lens on my torch. I have a Furyk Fupa 12 cup on there with 332nd tungsten. And we're going to flow about 28 cubic feet per hour of pure argon to shield the puddle. That's my pre-flow, filling an area before I start the arc. I'm going to throw a patch on that one side, and I'll come around to the opposite side and put a tack there to try to keep the bung from pulling out of the hole. So what I like to do is do about 5 tacks, go about a third of the way around, let the post flow cool it, and then I'll continue on. Again, it's all in the name of, we want it to penetrate, but we don't want to go so hot into this thing that we ruin the inside diameter of the hole, because it's a really tight fit on the probes. Handrest going here. Once the tube heats up, it doesn't even take that many amps to get penetration. Three more to go, and then we can yank this motor out of this car, throw it in the crate, and send it back to California. All of our bungs are installed and fully welded 360 degrees. Now it's time to install the probes. I'm not going to show you how to wire all this because we're not ready to wire the car yet, but essentially what I like to do is just get a Sharpie, mark the probe, make sure they're all marked the same distance so that when you install the nut and the olive, when you crimp it down by tightening it, every one of these probes sticks into the primary tube the same amount. So in addition to making sure the probes are all the same distance from the exhaust valve, you want to make sure the depth of every one of these probes into the primary tube is the same or as close as you can make it. There we go. Jill's bolting the header back on. Let's go thread one of these in and show you what it should look like. Right now you're going to get a pretty good view of why I keep saying this is a mock-up motor. It's also a mock-up transmission. There's nothing in that reed case. But if you look up in here, there's a crankshaft, but no pistons or rods. And if we zoom in, look, there's an exhaust guide. There's an intake valve guide. Yep, you can see all the way up to the chamber of those dart cylinder heads, because there ain't nothing in this motor.
It's a Bluetooth motor.
It's a Bluetooth motor, which is why we're sending it back to Nelson. Alright, so now, if I can keep this flashlight from falling down, I'll show the people. There's one of the installed bungs. We'll take the nut off of it. And we'll thread in our probe. This is all temporary stuff because we're not ready to wire or plumb the motor. But you can at least kind of look at what these are when they go in. So there's the probe. And right now that probe will slide in until it hits the other side of the tube, but we don't want that. And I'm not going to tighten this all the way because once you crimp that collar, then that sets the depth of the probe, and it's not going to want to.
And we'll never get it out.
Well, you can take it in and out. You just can't change the depth, and you want them all to be the same. So I'm just doing this to show people kind of what it looks like. Like I said, normally I would mark this with Sharpie, and I know how far to shove this in. And then once I tighten this down, and the compression sleeve does its job, then the depth is set. You can swivel it, you can take it on and off, but you can't change the depth. Anyway, that's what it looks like.
Hey, did you ever think the stay would actually come?
No. No, I gotta be honest, it was one of those things where just keep working on it, and maybe someday we'll get to the point where real progress happens.
Kids will be moved in out of the house.
Oh, dude. Cars were gonna fly by the time I got this thing going. Like every year my goal is, all right, by January, yeah, I'm gonna drive it this year. And I think, I don't know, that's realistic in 2024, depending on how long, Nelson needs to put the motor together. I believe he's machined a lot of the stuff for it already, so
That'd be nice.
yeah, it might not be all that long. I won't even know what the garage is like. Like this
garage is getting cleaning.
This thing has been in the middle. Keep going. This thing has been in the middle of the garage for probably 2 years now. Keep going. Here, let me take that and I'll put it away.
There you go.
Because we might not need this for a little while. This is exciting. That's how tough these are. Cadillac has been on these for a long time and they haven't collapsed. What if this is what it looks like if this car ever wheels? Just dragging the back bumper and the parachutes on the ground.
We can only hope. That depends. Are we going to put the stock bumper back on it?
Maybe the only way this car would ever wheelie is if you left the factory rear bumper but carbon fiber the front end.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
This car is so heavy. Look at that, people. Done. Look at that. Exhaust is there, header's there. We did not build the cold side because I'm a little worried about, is the deck height of my engine block exactly the same as this? I didn't want to find out the hard way that it wouldn't be. So this tube, the cold side, which goes from the turbo right here and gets a blow-off valve, we did not build those because Nelson's going to dyno this thing, and I'm sure he can temporarily fab a charge tube there just so he can tune it on the dyno. Radiator is out, turbos are coming off. Then that wheel can go back on. This thing can go on the ground. We can hook up the hoist and pull the motor out. Now, a couple of things that we've got to figure out. There is no easy way to connect a radiator hose to that water pump right now because this dry sump pump is right in the way. So I got to talk to Nelson about that. I was pushing him to go wet sump and not even have a dry sump pump here because it just makes life a lot simpler. But he knows what I'm going to do to this car and he wants the dry sump. So you have two options. Either cut and modify the housing of the water pump so that you can turn it and have it come out this way, which I'm not a fan of because if anything ever goes wrong, you've got a really custom housing. Or move the dry sump pump out and remount it from a different location because the problem is the mounts are attached to the engine block and they're in the way. So that's something we got to work out with Nelson, is how we're going to get past that little dilemma. The other thing we got to work out is oil pan. It's true when you go to dry sump, you can use a shallower oil pan, but most dry sump pans are about 6 inches deep. We have about 5.5 inches between the oil pan rail and that cross member right there where the wood is sitting. So we need to either notch the cross member or go really custom with the pan. It's really only the first 4.5, 5 inches of the motor that are sitting over that cross member. The rest of the motor is behind it, but we're either gonna have to notch that or go with a really custom pan to clear that whole deal there. Those are the two things I gotta talk to Nelson about. All right, wheel can go on, and then, yeah, we don't even have nuts on the motor mounts right now, which means it should be pretty easy to get out of here. But we're gonna have to push the car back to get an engine hoist in here because the poles are in the way. Hey, you wanna hear a really funny story about those poles? I don't know if I ever told you this. So, when we first moved into this house, this was a wall of studs with a small doorway down there. And on the other side of the garage, same deal, there was a wall of studs. And it really made this place look small. Working in it was difficult. You know, it was very narrow when there was another wall there. Well, anyway, way back in the day before Mike Cotton worked with me on the TV show Faster with Finnegan, he was, a guy I knew out of Illinois whose truck we photographed for the cover of Sport Truck magazine. So I've known him for, 20 years. Well, after I moved here, he wasn't real busy with work, so I would pay him to come down here and do work occasionally. And one time I paid him to do the brakes on the roadkill ramp truck, the rear ones, right? Uh-huh. And I wasn't here when it happened, but he backed it in, right? Back of the truck's here. Jacks it up, pulls the wheels off, puts it on jack stands, goes to disassemble the right side of it. When he goes to slide the axle out, it hit one of the studs. And he's like, damn it. Put it all back together, put the wheels back on, put it on the ground, roll it 4 inches, jack it back up, pull it all apart, get the axle out, do the brakes. Comes over here, goes to do the other side, studs are in a different location, bang, hits the wall again, and he's got to reassemble it, put it on the ground, roll it 4 more inches, put it back up, take it apart, take the axle out, do the brakes, so on and so forth.
Quadruple the work you needed to.
It was bad. Well, he did all that, right? Like a week later, the dude showed up to pull all the studs out and put the laminated beams overhead to get rid of the walls, dude. And I was just like, oh my God, dude. I think he wanted to kill me. I did pay him though. I mean, how mad can you be, But yeah, working in this garage presents some challenges. There's no lift, and at one point we had a wall right there of studs. Whoa. Oh, I remember I was here by myself once, and in order to get the car jacked up, I had to push this thing onto 2x4s.
I remember watching the video, and I think I texted you and said, Mike.
That was before you worked here.
Yeah. You might need some help there.
Yeah.
No, I got this.
And we're gonna have to do it again because that's in the way. So this needs to come back like 4 feet, and then it needs to go back up on 2x.
Oh, that's our custom exhaust dragging back there.
Yeah. All right, there we go. I think we can get a hoist here. Yeah. This is a big day right here.
Right? This is huge.
Officially today, we are no longer the reason the motor is not going to be together.
We need more 2x4s.
Better driver. That'll work. The mid plate's sitting on a shelf. We can take the bolts out, and then the transmission should just lean up against the mid plate. We should be able to leave it in there, I think. You know, at least until that doesn't work. Bottom one, I'll need a ratchet for.
This one's almost all the way out over here.
Oh, we didn't. Oh, I don't think there's dowels in this.
Huh?
I don't think there's dowels in this block.
I don't think so either.
It's free.
I was trying to keep it from rolling off the blocks.
All right, what am
We
I?
don't want that again.
What am I stuck on?
Huh?
Oh, crank is stuck on the mid plate. I need to let it down a little.
Oh, there you go. Okay, now pull forward. You're good. Go ahead, you're clear.
All right, up we go. All right, real quick.
Personally, I never thought this would happen ever since I've been here.
This is wild. This is a good day.
Whoops.
I need
you're
to
clear.
twist her back the other way.
Back it up.
There we go.
Oh.
All right, now we can put the feet on the side of this thing.
Yes.
I think you had them.
Right here. Oh, we have to take those mounts off first.
Yes. Those Allens, I think.
They are probably
5/16.
5/16 is sitting over here.
Alright, this car can roll backwards.
It's a zip tie. I was gonna zip tie it around and then pull it in and hold it right there.
Okay.
I think it'll work better. Then we don't drag our tip. We'll wait till it's running to do that.
That is crossed right there.
Look, if we can lift a bed out of a truck with zip ties and 2x4s, we can surely hold up some exhaust. Oh, there's that tire chalk you put in earlier.
The 2x4. That was the 2x4 that was not saving your life. Yeah, all this 2x4 was doing was keeping you from running over stuff behind the car, not keeping the Caddy from running over you. Okay, now we can push this back. Oh my God, it's been so long since I've seen it. Like it's rusted in the garage. Actually, a lot of this didn't happen in the garage. Yeah, a lot of this happened from filming Faster with Finnegan in here and this car getting shoved outside and rained on. Solid zip tie. Nice. All right, let's see if it'll fit in the Texas Speed crate.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because we'll have to get it set on there and then slide it on that crate.
Yep. Let's give it a shot. You want to steer and I'll push and film?
I'm excited. Come on down.
You pull it towards you and I'll...
Yep. It's kind of how I had to drag the Texas speed motor out.
story. I wanted to go faster at drag and drive events. I wanted to do it on small tires. So I bought a roller, 2018 Lexus LC500 for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, I'd never seen one before used for drag racing. Reason number two, this was a roller that was supposed to be ready to finish and go racing. So like an idiot, I bought it without seeing it in person. The guy I bought it from probably didn't know what he was looking at or had or whatever. And as it turns out, once I had a professional look at this car, not only was it not legal, it wouldn't pass a chassis cert, but it was probably gonna hurt somebody if they ever crashed it because of stuff like this. Now this car is supposed to cert, according to the SFI, to go as quick as 6 seconds and a quarter mile. It's supposed to be made out of chromoly tubing, and it is, but it's supposed to be TIG welded, not full of MIG wire. It's full of MIG wire because somebody needed to patch some holes, and it's just stuff like that. It was wrong. As soon as we figured it out, we came to RK, they're fixing all of it. And not only are they fixing just crap like this, but they're making the car better. The body was never fully mounted, now it is. The rockers weren't even attached to the rocker bars, now they are. We have more bars than we ever had before. The chassis is stronger. They're mounting the engine lower, they're building new control arm mounts. Long story short, when it leaves here and goes to my house, it should be ready for me to finish. So let's take a look at all the stuff that happened while I was out of town filming Roadkill to my Lexus. So if you notice, we no longer have a big gap between the rocker bar and the rocker panel. That's because there's sheet metal TIG welded between both items. So no more big gaps there. The entire structure down the middle of the car is all new tubing because our transmission crossmember was in the wrong place and it was not legal. And it was just easier to cut these bars out and redo it than to modify what was there. The rust is where all the fresh bars are. Everything rusts in Georgia. It's kind of moist here. But we have all new bars there. The body is now mounted in multiple places. So you see here along the A-pillars, down the rocker panels, and then if you come back here, they're working on mounting the body there. And that's not done. They're in the process. It's going to get more TIG welds. All the old carbon, the wheel tubs, everything's out of it. Everything's getting done better than it ever was, and it'll be safer. One of the other big items we're doing here is we're going to mount the motor lower in the chassis. We're going to get the crank center line lower, the center of gravity lower. That necessitated cutting the front suspension off of this because this is a daily engineering billet oil pan with an integrated dry sump pump mount. It was going to hit this control arm mount. So that all got cut out. Motor's going to get lowered. It's a Motion Raceworks motor plate, but we're getting rid of the old mid plate because it's in two pieces and there's bolts that don't go to anything and it doesn't fit the car at all. So that's going to get changed and the control arm's going to get remounted. We cut all the factory structure off here that was mounting the hood because it didn't need to be there. We're going to mount the hood off the roll cage. But long story short, everything about this is just going to be better. We won't have crap like this inside of the tubing of my street car. Like, that's not what you want to see. The wild part about this car is the chassis was all painted, and inside the trailer and in my dark garage, it looked great. You know, we took the roof panel off and we're like, oh, these welds are pretty decent. Well, the problem is anywhere two tubes came together, especially in the lower part of the car, they welded it 80% of the way, got to the hard part where the tubes joined, and then just didn't. And then they painted it. Like, it's not legal, it's not safe. Like, it's wild the corners that got cut on this thing. And this was a car that was in, you know, like an online story, you know. It's a pretty famous internet car, but holy crap, this thing was going to be dangerous if it ever hit the wall. It's going to be way better now. I'm excited.
Over here.
Yeah, they added more bars to the back half of the chassis to brace it above the 4-link. Like anywhere you see bare metal or rust, that's because there's new bars installed there.
Good.
Yeah, I'm excited. They've already started new sheet metal, and this will all get Zeused in from the bottom, so it'll be serviceable. Actually, the driver's panel will be welded, but this side will be Zeused in when they get to this side. But the driver's floor panel will be welded to the chassis. And then at some point, I'll have to come back and get fitted to the car again, because we're gonna move the driving position towards the center of the car. So, you know, where everything came through the firewall has to get moved over, because that's in the wrong place. Like if you put the pedals there, you're off-centered up against that side of the roll cage. So.
That was a little funky.
Yeah, I'm gonna fit better. I can't wait. So anyway, that's what's happening on the Lexus. Stoked on the progress. We're gonna go back and work on some of our own stuff that we're actually capable of working on. Thank you for sticking with me through the end of this video. Let's find out who the winners are, shall we? All right, we're gonna start with the autographed FSM hats. They kind of look like this, except it's got my name on it. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, I don't know, but 6 different people won one of these things. And we've emailed everybody, but I've not heard back from all of you, which is part of the reason I want to tell you who you are. So check your spam folder, check your email in general in case you haven't, because you should have an email from us telling you you're a winner, and we need to confirm that so we can send you your prize. Here we go. These people won FSM autograph hats. Jamie Eggerer of Malone, Wisconsin. Congratulations. William Koloff of Kenosha, Wisconsin. That's 2 from Wisconsin. Damian Fleming of Hawesville, Kentucky. Tim Foley of Lyman, Maine. Jason Pittman of Phoenix, Arizona. And Austin Bias of Rutherford, North Carolina. Congratulations to all of you guys. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Now, 2 different people won incredible wiring kits from WireCare. These are Motorsports Wiring kits. They come with the tools and Deutsch connectors to properly terminate wiring in whatever project you're working on to make it safe and lightweight, and it looks really cool because they're Deutsch connectors. 2 people won those things. Here we go. Robert Ratliff of Commerce City, Colorado, and Raymond Rosenbetker of East Peoria, Illinois. Congratulations, fellas. Okay, the moment you've all been waiting for. And I want to thank everybody that took a shot at winning this 1970 Datsun 510. I was blown away, especially by the number of people that hand wrote postcards to enter. Because of course, you didn't have to purchase anything at my website. You could have just mailed in your info and it counted. And we got thousands of postcards. It was incredible. And I didn't personally pick any of the winners. I went through a law office, and here's who was chosen. You ready? Kevin Berg of Shreveport, Louisiana. You are the winner, my friend. This is now your ride. And the only question I have, because I haven't talked to him on the phone, is are we flying you here, and are you driving it home, or are we shipping it to you, buddy? Let me know. All right. Again, thanks everybody that went to fsmgarage.com and bought the merch. It was a lot of fun. I think we'll do this again towards the tail end of the year. I have other cool stuff that I feel like would be fun to share with you guys. And let me know in the comments if you want me to do this again, because I'm genuinely curious. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.